Welcome to the GardeningDad.com's Gardening School. My name is Paul, and in today's course, I'm going to teach you how to winterize your beehives. In this course, I'm going to tell you a little bit around the materials you need to winterize your beehives, and then show you exactly what it looks like up close. So let's begin. To winterize your beehive, I recommend completing 4 to 5 different steps. The first step is making sure that you have the proper top or roof to your beehive. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes. The next step, making sure that you have some sort of insulation in your beehive. This will help not only keep the temperature up of that hive, but also help prevent condensation. The third piece, making sure that we have some sort of material protecting the outside of that beehive from wind and winter elements. And then finally, the fourth is really making sure that we have some sort of entrance guard to help protect your hive against pests in the winter. So next, I'm going to show you exactly up close what it looks like for each of these steps. All right, what we have here is an empty beehive for demonstration. I'm just going to show you very simply what we want to make sure we're doing to winterize that beehive. So first and foremost, recommend just your rectangular top cover or roof for the beehive. Depending on the beehive that you have, what you're going to notice is some have different types of roofs, different types of structures. In the winter, I recommend this. It's going to help prevent moisture, rain, snow from getting in that beehive. And most importantly, you can put a brick on this and it's going to prevent pests like raccoons from trying to get in there. Next, very simply, we're going to ignore this. You can see I have some dead yellow jackets in here, but this I talked about in a previous video. One of the things you can do in the winter is provide some extra sugar mixture or nectar in there to help really get those bees through the winter with some extra food. So I just had this already set up, a good piece to have in there, not necessarily winterizing, but really helps get those bees through the winter, especially if you live in colder climates. All right, now let's get to the good stuff. Right here is just a very simple piece of the beehive that typically beekeepers use in the summer, sometimes in the spring, to provide an area where we can feed our bees. So it's just really a piece of the beehive where we can feed the bees. The beautiful thing about this though is actually in the winter, you can turn it into an insulation piece. So very simply, all you do is you buy this, and then you go out there and you get some wood shavings, just some simple wood shavings, and you're gonna fill it all the way to the top. And then very simply, those wood shavings are gonna insulate the beehive, and it's gonna help reduce moisture. As you can see, this is bone dry, and we've had quite the wet winter so far. So really, when it comes to insulation, if we can get that temperature up even 2 degrees, it's going to make a huge difference to the likelihood of success of beehives, especially early on in that colony's life. So this is, again, a very simple, cheap, easy way to do it. I'm going to move over to my actual real live beehive now and show you a couple other pieces that are going to be really beneficial to winterizing your beehive. All right, so this is actually my live colony right now. Showed you the cover, showed you the insulation. One last piece a lot of gardeners and beekeepers will do is they're going to go ahead and get some commercial insulation there. Recommended typically an R5 to an R10, depending on where you live and how cold it gets. Again, depending on who you're talking to, different schools of thought around whether you need it or not. I personally like to provide that extra insulation. Again, if you can raise that colony's temperature by just a few degrees, gives a much higher likelihood of them living, succeeding, and really just thriving when it comes to the spring. So very simply, we've got that nice insulation piece here. Try not to disturb the bees. And the one thing to note, why you do all the insulation up top, heat rises, right? So we know heat's going to leave through the top, In addition, we know the bees center around the circle or the center of the hive up top. So if we can put as much insulation up top as possible, it's really going to protect them. In addition, another piece you can kind of see in the background, and I'm even going to see if I can hold that up. I recommend putting a tarp or some sort of material slightly around your beehive. The one thing with this is I want to make sure that you shouldn't wrap your beehive. What we want to make sure we're doing is just putting it slightly outside. So as you can see, there is no very clear right here between here and the tarp. Very simply, shouldn't be wrapped, but you want it to protect it from wind in case you get a heavy rain, even to help prevent snow. So one of the biggest things you should check daily that beekeepers sometimes forget is that snow accumulation around the entrances of the beehive. We want to make sure there's the flow. We want to make sure there's the ventilation. This is going to help prevent that, keeping the snow outside the beehive. Again, you can see we had a pretty rough evening of wind, so I've got to kind of tighten this up. But you can tell really quickly here, it's going to protect it from the wind, from the rain, from the snow. And then lastly, you can't see it here, but I do have just entrance guards on the bottom. So entrance guards on the bottom of the beehive. I'll be showing a demonstration in another video how you can install it very easily, but it's just super simple. And really in the winter, you want that to protect it from the mice. Mice will easily get into your beehive and just rob it if we don't have some sort of guard on there. Best part about it, a lot of beekeepers are going to use that in the spring and even sometimes in the fall. So that's just very simply 4 or 5 different ways to winterize your beehive. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of recap what we talked about. All right, now that I just showed you a live demonstration of what those materials look like and how to over-winterize, let's just recap one more time what you need. Number 1, we want to make sure that we have some sort of roof that we can really just place it on that's going to protect it against rain, against elements, Mother Nature, pests like raccoons. So I always recommend using a rectangular top. You can put a brick on it. Number 2, making sure we have some sort of insulation. I showed you very simply how you can use wood shavings. It's going to help prevent moisture and help keep that beehive insulated. In addition, you can use some sort of commercial insulation, recommended somewhere between an R5 and an R10 value. Another great option. Number 3, really want to make sure we have some sort of tarp or some sort of material around your beehive to protect it from the wind, protect it from snow accumulation. Sometimes that's just hard rain that can, very rarely, but can penetrate that beehive. And then finally, making sure we have some sort of entrance guard. Typically, we want to prevent mice from getting in there. It doesn't matter where you live. In the winter, they love to try to get in the beehive and rob that bees honey. So with that being said, I thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to check out thegardeningdad.com and happy gardening.